Good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you here again. Today I wanted to do something different. This is mainly because the thing I'm about to do right here is actually some blocking out of one of the levels in Blackmarsh, my Game Boy game. So that means it's the blocking out phase. There will be, well, let's say minimal spoilers. So it's okay to actually stream some of it. Because you don't really see, like, you know, it's mainly to check, like, how the game will flow, like gameplay in general. Make sure, like, you know, if I want to do certain jumps, will the player be able to do those, you know, kind of like how it all connects. So it was just blocking out a level. I already did some work on that. And, you know, I thought it would be interesting to kind of stream. There's no, like, a specific level theme. I do have something in mind, but it's not really shown here. But it would be interesting to have your guys' opinion, you know. What would be interesting to make, like, for a platformer? Some traps, you know, some secrets, I don't know. We'll see. So it's definitely not gonna look, let's actually jump in the screen here. So it's not gonna look like this. All right, I'm gonna open up a sprite which I actually use, you know, for the blocking out, which actually works very well. Let's see, recent, where was it? Demo area 1. So I kind of used like the biggest screen that is allowed in the editor or in Game Boy Studio. Maybe for the Game Boy in general. So it's quite large. Yeah, but it's no problem. We can always shrink it down. So I made some layers here, which makes it easier for me to move things around if needed. As you can see, these are mainly like, so this is an example of a blockout. I used Ella here for scale, of course. And a couple of objects here where I wanted doors to be like this barrel is going to be pushable. So I kind of want to have this mechanic. Well, it has the original barrel in the game has a fuse. So you have to push it around, and it kind of drops down, and then you have to ignite it. Like there will be a torch here or something, and then you have to move quickly to push it on these breakable blocks, so it will explode, and you will be able to pass through. The only thing, like, I feel like is where the difficulty lies is kind of create this fun loop. Because I probably want to, if you enter this door, I'm not really sure if I want the player to be immediately right here, or to have like a small mini map where you actually climb up or something, or, you know, I'm not really sure about that. But as you can see, this is actually fairly easy to make changes. Like that, because I do want, let's see, I can actually copy this. Objects, yeah, that's the one. So as you can see, you don't have to be too precise when selecting. That is the fun part about layers, obviously. But I assume I don't have to tell most of you this interesting trick. Now the reason I move this is because if you push the barrel, I don't want to touch this because, you know, there is some kind of like a guide or a rule I try to hold on to. Maybe like it's not always easy, but whatever's outlined in black is usually impassable. And what is lighter is actually like push to the background. Let me show you if I can actually show you an example. Like here, for example, yeah, these pipes. See, these do have a lighter color, which means you cannot interact, you cannot climb on top. It's just part of the background. That's why I chose to go light with this. Whereas here you can see they're outlined in black, and you can actually walk on them. So that's the difference, basically. You know, it's kind of like a visual language. You know, to indicate, like, to set certain rules that you can expect as a player. So it's not like, so it's not going to turn into a guessing game, which, like, I think most of the older games kind of had that problem. You know, where you couldn't really tell for sure if you can jump. Like, there has to be consistency when it comes to that. But I think this is a nice way to actually, you know, make sure the player understands what type of rules are being set here. There's going to be two types of breakable blocks. You got these blocks that have to be broken by use of like an explosive, and we have blocks that can be broken with LS weapons, like a flame, fireball, or like the bouncing ball. And what I'm gonna do is actually, oh, I can actually make it easier on myself. Gonna give Ella a little more space here. Okay. Now, depending on the background here, I think I'm gonna leave this white indoors. I could always do a nice transition here to actually indicate that this is like, you know, an actual opening. We put some flames up here. Simple, or some lights. Okay, but let's just focus on the block out here. And what I wanted, let's see. This is a big barrel. Let's see how the actual barrel, is that the same thing? One, two, three. Oh, it's shorter. Okay, that's good. Because that was huge. Okay, let's actually, just to make sure we get the scale right. One, two, three, and the fuse. So this is just for you know, it doesn't really matter. It's just so I know that actually, you know, there's plenty of room. I gotta make sure, like, there are certain things you have to keep in mind. Like, if the player, for example, instead of, you know, placing the barrel here, you decide to push it here down these stairs. You gotta make sure that, you know, you don't block off this door, because there's no way up for the barrel. So I have to make sure that you have enough room to move the barrel to one of the sides. But normally the barrel wouldn't last that long, because, you know, I'm gonna place the fuse, I think, somewhere here maybe. So what I probably want to do is actually move this a bit further away from here, so you have plenty of time. There you go. And then put the fuse maybe somewhere here. Even one more. Well, there's a lot of things that has to be tested, of course. But the thing is, if you use like simple blocks, it's way easier to make adjustments. Things don't work out. But if you have actually, like, you designed a full level with the complete, let's say, sprite set or texture set, then it's a lot harder to actually make some adjustments. Here I can just base my actual, well, let's call them textures. I can just base them on on this shape here. And even then make some minor changes, but you know, the layout has to be like, the ground layout has to be good. So this is basically like a first like puzzle, and it's gonna be this is actually more like a teaching mechanic. It teaches you in a very simple way that you can actually use this barrel to blow up these blocks. Probably want to stretch it out a bit. Just a little further. Because if you push the barrel beyond this boundary, you'll have some difficulty jumping here. So I kind of want this. These are things I already take into account. I think that should be enough. Of course, there's going to be like some more decoration, but for now, it will suffice. Like this. You can always hang some chains or whatever, like decoration from here, from the ceiling. So it's looking very simplistic now, but like I said, it's just blocking out. Now the only thing is, like, if you the actual collision data, you can not do it here, obviously. You have to do it in the editor, and like you can make changes, but if you make changes to the actual size of the canvas, then the whole collision data is gone. You have to do it from scratch. So what I basically want to do is try to do, like, before I even test it, do a complete block out, and then hope, like, if I'm satisfied with the size of the level, I'm just gonna determine a specific canvas size, and if I do that, then at least not my whole, I don't have to redo the whole block out. Now, these individual maps aren't really enormous, but it will set me back a little bit, so kind of trying to want to avoid that. But you know, that's something to worry about later. So basically, the first level is I already have like a visual style. It's probably gonna be, you start off like, this is more like where you go to like a spider lair type of map, but still like trying to keep that like those mechanical steampunk elements, like these pipes and these actually like more modern lamps for like, because you have to remember it's like a medieval setting, but it kind of takes place like in the kind of early stages of modern technology. Well, you know, in a fantasy setting, of course. So it's kind of like a combination of not just medieval, but like, well, for example, like Thief, you know, the Metal Age. They kind of have these, or maybe like the original Thief as well. They kind of have these steampunk elements in the game as well, and I'm a huge fan of that. I love that. It definitely creates this kind of unique, not just the standard medieval setting, you know, but it adds some nice fantasy elements in the mix as well. And that's kind of what I want to do here as well. And it's easy to kind of, like, you don't have to explain everything, like these platforms, like how they operate. You don't really have to explain it if like, you can see by these pipes that there's something like, you know, there is some modern, arcane, unknown technology, kind of like a mixed bag of that. It's present here, so it makes it easy to implement some of the core features, which in a medieval setting definitely would need some explanation, like this, for example. And you probably wouldn't be able to convincingly use it, but throw in the steampunk setting and you can actually do that. So as far as the Game Boy game goes, I don't think it's going to be a huge problem to do some over-the-top fantasy. Like, look at Mario, for example. They use moving platforms and, you know, it's all good. Nobody kind of thinks about it or asks like questions like, how is this possible? You just go with it. And it's kind of like the same thing. I want to, like, this is maybe a little more... it has a little more of a, let's say, serious vibe than Mario Land. Let's say a little less goofy, maybe, if that's the correct word. And ties in more like, you know, it's like a mix between Castlevania and Wario Land, or Mario Land. So it's kind of like, yeah, I have to look for that middle ground here. As you can see, like, this fireplace has some more modern elements with this metal pipe here. A little bit of arcane thrown in the mix here, so it's kind of like it's kind of like a mix. But I definitely think it gives Blackmarsh a unique setting. Like, here you can see this is a simple test map, but you know, it has also has these Mario pipes. But as you can see, it's it has a very different style. This is one of my favorites so far I designed, like these, like a mushroom forest. So this is just like a concept. I just drew some mushrooms here, which I think worked out fairly well. And it's gonna be interesting to you know, design a level around that. Now, this is I'm actually working on a demo. And this is part of the demo as well. These levels here. And probably going to use some of them in the full game as well. Probably all of them I'm going to use in the full game as well. But this level is kind of like, it's a vertical slice. So I'm going to put in a lot of mechanics that you would acquire in a later stage. So like, for example, if you defeat a boss, you get like an ability, you learn an ability, and with that ability you can actually, like, for example, this barrel is pretty heavy to push. So in the beginning Ella is not able to do that. And what you can do is actually, you can place this barrel in one of the early stages. And that's what I kind of like about this whole Metroidvania, you know, style of games, is that you can actually see, okay, there is something here, but you cannot do that yet. So you have to venture out and return once you have the you know, appropriate ability. So like a thrust or a push power up is something that Ella will learn on her journey, and then you can return and actually. But for the demo, I don't want, like, there's only one boss fight, right, with the spider, because I thought it was pretty spectacular. Like it's a large screen-sized boss, so I think it's great for the demo. And there's only one boss, so there's no need to actually, or there's no point to learn the ability after you defeat the boss, because that's where the demo is gonna end. So I'm gonna give, like for the demo, I'm gonna give Ella these powers already. And you can just, play around with it, and in the full version, you kind of have to learn them. But you can, like I said, it's a vertical slice, so you can actually, get a taste of what the game has to offer. So that's basically it. So that's why I have to keep this into account. Like I gotta make sure the barrel is not reachable from the start. You have to kind of figure out like how does this all work with the flame here. I can actually move this a little bit to the side here as well. There, so we have plenty of room here. And I kind of want to... Well, you don't really have to have a returning point here. So this is like a building. We can actually make sure... Three. One, two, three, 4, 8, 9. Okay. So I was thinking about working with to make sure it's not linear. I kind of want to work with locked doors as well. You have to gather some keys. This was an early test. Objects, this one. So I thought it was interesting because I think most games I played start from left to right. I'm gonna switch it around. And we're gonna start the other way around here. Oh, block out. Yeah. And that is actually this is the level start. So whatever happens beyond here doesn't really matter. It's just for you know, to give the impression that the demo is actually, I mean, the level is actually larger than what might appear. So story-wise, in the demo, there's nothing that's going to be revealed. It's basically just a tech demo, you know, to show off the kind of like the levels, like what to expect from the full game. Hey, what is up, buddy? What software is it? This is actually a sprite. It's basically just a sprite editor. This is actually Game Boy Studio, where you actually build all the mechanics. So these are two different things, because these are just images, the levels, but you have to define, like, you know, the collision. You have to place the enemies inside, but technically these are just backgrounds, and you can't really draw backgrounds in this editor. So I use a sprite, which is basically you could use paint for all that matters. But I use a sprite because I kind of know the editor and it's easy to work with layers, and it was cheap, cheaper than Photoshop. And it's a very good pixel editor, pixel art. So I use this mainly as my go-to for developing Blackmarsh. Also for, you know, the animations, the sprites, enemies, stuff like that. So what I can do here is actually create I heard of that. Oh yeah. Is it free? Oh, it's in. Oh yeah, it's free. Wow, cool. So I'm not really sure. Like, I think Hey Soul, what is up, buddy? No, I don't have a game. This game is going to be released on the original hardware. I already have a publisher, so we're going to actually build a cartridge. You know, just like the old original Game Boy games, but it's going to be probably going to be available for download as well, for digital download. But it would be interesting to actually, I have to discuss it with my publisher to actually maybe create a Steam page. Yeah, it's actually an interesting idea, good idea. Ah, okay. Oh, it's a uni. Oh, okay. Cool. I see. Nice. Okay. All right. Nice. Yeah. Indeed. Like Micromages, you can compare it. It runs on, I think Micromages was for the NES, if I'm not mistaken. I can actually show you a bit. And the only downside to this whole thing using Game Boy Studio is that it's not truly optimized to run on original hardware, because you have to know assembly if you want to actually really fine-tune it. Absolutely, it's very hard, absolutely. But I'm kind of interested in learning assembly. I already did some, research on it. There are some very, very good guides for actually homebrew Game Boy developers when it comes to assembly. But it is indeed very, very hard. Like, the language in itself is actually fairly simple. There aren't too many commands. But I think the difficulty lies in assigning, or making optimal use of the registers. You have to, it's not like user friendly. So as you can, I have to, because my monsters actually are pretty large. I kind of gotta make sure. Oh. There you go. Yeah, this is just like a test. You don't really spawn here again. But yeah. Oh, apparently it's still not, of course, not released. So not in a fully functional state. Just testing the new monster here, but this is actually, I can just bring you up to the boss fight. So you can notice like a slight slowdown there. This is also a slippery floor, as you can see. But you can notice a slight slowdown, and that's because it asks a lot of the hardware. There we go. And here we go to the boss fight. So basically, what you can do, you can choose to, like, this is just a and just give it 1 hit point. As you can see, like, this is actually main test for the door. So the boss entrance is broken now, which prevents you from going inside again. So I thought it was interesting to kind of visually, portray that as well. And basically what you do is you learn a new ability here, and then, like in a true Metroidvania style, you can actually reach places that you weren't able to reach before, like going back up here, for example. Which requires a double jump. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good use. Like, I feel many modern games kind of lack optimization. But you know, in like, I don't have much experience when it comes to programming. Just a little bit in scripting. Well, glad you like it. Like, I wasn't a pixel artist either before working on this. I just kind of learned, but I'm pretty satisfied with the animation I did for the main character. And this also has like brewing potion mechanics, so you can find recipes. Hold on, let me show you. So if I choose, like, let's go right here, for example. Not really sure if I have the ingredients, but you can actually, like, you can return here if you want to brew potions. You can see now you have all the recipes, but you have to find them as well, because you can actually choose. As you can see, here's, for example, this is a recipe which shows you the correct ingredients. And if you want to brew potions, as you can see, I do have ingredients. You can choose 3 ingredients. If you mix, like, there are 5 combinations which are known, which have known properties, so to speak. So if you do this, so this is one of the, like, not one of the 5 known potions. So you brewed a mystery potion, and the mystery potion is something. I have a total of, let's see how many, I think 6 additional effects. So, like, if you brew a mystery potion, you get one of the random, which can be negative as well. So if you brew like a mystery potion and it's the wrong potion, if you drink it, you might lose 1 health point. So not everything about them, like the known potions, they are all beneficial to the player, right? But the mystery potions, some of them provide like an extra benefit. So it's like you got like a basic set of 5, which do, you know, restore 1 health point, restore your mana. You can allow you to switch mana, and there are some. Yeah, I have to test it indeed. Now this if I export it, it produces a readable file, so I have to just put it on a cartridge and you can actually play it. So it's very simple. But I still have to order, like, maybe my publisher can send me one. But I'm gonna have to order a cartridge, an empty one, and I have software to write actually on a cartridge to plug it in. So that's all good on my end. So I can actually test it. I do have like an original Game Boy here. So I can actually test it, you know. That's not a problem. Now the only thing is, like, I probably at some point, I'm definitely gonna check out, like, the demo is not gonna be available on cartridge, of course. It's just for everyone to download and try out. But I am gonna put it on cartridge just to see like how it actually runs before actually releasing the demo. Because if there are like maybe some major or things like I didn't do right, for example, there's like a huge mechanic, right? And maybe you can help me out. Like to determine what is more efficient. So I have attached a script to the B button, right? It's attack. But if you hold up and press B, then you drink a potion which you have in your inventory. Now, at first I wanted to, let's see, can I show it to you? Let's do it here, for example. So what I first had in mind was actually if you use select, there was an extra, see now, I'm pressing select now, but that was also very hard to implement. I had to write custom code for this. The thing is, it prevents you from selecting, like using select, because you have to go out of the scene to access the menu. And if you do that, you have to store each and every position of each and every moving object, which is very it's very demanding. So I chose to, like in some modern RPGs, where you cannot use your inventory as monsters are nearby. I kind of like use the same principle here. So now I'm pressing select, but it doesn't work. But if I move further away, here we can. So what I had was here, potions, and then, you know, this just shows you which potion you have in your inventory. But actually I had an option initially here to drink the potion, yes or no. Then you would have to go out of the scene and back in the scene again, which was really a hassle. Because you have to transfer the potion effects to the new scene. And here I feel like it's easier if I just press up and B. So this is, now you have, this is a mystery potion. And this effect makes sure that you're, like, you can pass through monsters. You're not immune to dying, of course. But as you can see, the effect wears off and you're back to normal. So that is one effect. Like, it's a positive effect of a mystery potion. And there are many like examples. But what I wonder, because as you can see, this is a pretty extensive script. So as you can see, like, there's a lot that comes to it. So these are the potions. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, which obviously slows down, and like it slows down the game, of course, because there's a lot of stuff going on. So I had to make the compromise, and I kind of tied it to the lore as well, that if you drink a potion, you cannot use your special abilities like throwing fireballs. I mainly did this because, you know, if you throw your fireball as well, there's another mechanic coming into place, and that would slow the game down way too much. So I just chose to, like, I'm gonna tie it to the lore and just explain, like, if you drink a potion, which is like a very powerful substance, it messes up with your bloodstream, and you kind of need a pure bloodstream to use mana, and then your bloodstream is kind of like, let's say, corrupted or polluted, something like that, under the influence of a potion, like basically like being drunk, you know. So you cannot use your mana. That is basically like, that's how I kind of get away with it and save some memory. But and now here it comes, because I've been drifting off. There are a couple of things I have to check. As you can see here, there's a lot of ifs here. For the first one, it makes sense. If the joystick up is held, then you drink the potion. Now, I'm not really sure if it's possible. I think it's possible, because there are a lot of conditions here. If mana is 0, of course you stop the script. You cannot fire. You cannot throw a fireball if mana is 0. If immunity is true, so you're being killed and you spawn back in, there's like I think a 5 or 10 second immunity you have, and you can run through monsters, you can destroy them, but you cannot use your fireball. Also because, you know, to try to save some memory. And then if a potion is active, this is what I was talking about, you also cannot use your fireball, right? There's a lot of ifs here. Now, I wonder would it be more efficient, and I'm specifically talking memory-wise, instead of having all these separate ifs, what if I, because these are all variables, of course. What if I count all the variables in one command, and if the result is more than 0 or less than 0, either way, then you stop the script. Would that be more efficient? Or doesn't it really matter? Because I would have to change some things, because I have to make sure that each condition where I don't want the player to throw fireballs leads to the same result, and that is a certain value that I want to check. The total of these values has to be, has to be 0 or more than 0. Kind of depends. Like, does it make sense what I'm trying to say? So that's why I wonder. I can basically test it, but I'm not really sure if I can see the difference. But maybe there is maybe it does make a huge difference. I don't know. It would be interesting to hear a programmer's opinion on that. Because keep in mind, you obviously, you heard of assembly, so micro major, so you kind of know the hardware limitations somewhat. So I wonder, does it make a huge difference? Maybe for the Game Boy it does, I don't know. But it's something I probably would want to experiment with at some point. So I'm not really sure. What was that? Oh, it's the Witcher save file. Okay. Oh, did I accidentally exit? Sprite? Yes, I did. So this is actually easy. Let's first create a new layer. So the existing scenes. So this is actually, it doesn't really require a block out. But it gives a good indication. Hey Festus, what is up, buddy? Good day, good to see you. Welcome. So this is basically like, I'm gonna use this anyway in the map, but it's not gonna be part of the full map. This is like something separate. And of course, that new room, no, actually no. I just kind of tilted the camera just a little bit. It's kind of funny because on yesterday's stream, somebody asked the same question. I just used my television, just to provide like a fun background effect. But it's not a new room though. So basically, what I'm probably gonna do is make this part the same, like just tie them together like this in the game as well, because you know, you only have to load all the level mechanics only once. So I think it's beneficial to have just larger scenes in general. Unless I kind of want to convey the feeling that you traversed a little while longer, and then it's not like immediately next to each other. That's also an option, but they kind of fit well together, I think. So I might keep it. Okay, so now with this in place, there's no need to block this out because this is already existing and it's going to be linked because you drop down into the sewer here, which is your main base of operations. I know, shows for the biggest cliche in video games, sewer. But according to the story, like, it kind of makes sense to choose like a hiding hole. But you know, it's like let's see. So I think for the demo we can get away with a little more linearity. No? It's probably, if I'm gonna do these blockouts, I probably would have to learn some better shortcuts. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can actually. One, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we can actually do this already. Oh. There we go. There we go. Funny part is, like, I never knew like designing levels for a game like this would be actually pretty difficult. I feel like I don't know, lacking inspiration. What's the level about? This is actually, well, it's actually basically you start. This is the starting position. So this is just, I'm just blocking out. You kind of start at the cemetery. In the full game, you kind of you start in like cenotaph. And you get resurrected, so you kind of like rise from your coffin, and you know you start at like a cemetery as well, and then you go down to the sewers, where your base of operation has been set by your loyal servant, and then from there you can actually start exploring the world. This level is basically more like a tech demo to kind of show off certain abilities, like a vertical slice of the project. And one mechanic I have here is it teaches you that you can actually use barrels, set them on fire, and move them towards a set of breakable blocks, which is actually a first puzzle. It's just like an introduction to let the player know, like, it's very simple. Of course, it's a very simple setup. You can go up here, and then I'm gonna put a flame here, so you have to push the barrel towards the flame. Then before the timer expires, you have to push it here on the top of these blocks. That's all there is to it. And the setting in general is, well, let's say I kind of want to let me show you in, hold on. I just want to keep it simple, like two major setups. Well, maybe 3. Let's say 2.5. Hold on. Let me show you. So basically this one is also part of it, but this is going to be part of the full game as well. So this is more like the lair, spider lair type. Both actually. For room art, maybe more for level layout, because you kind of start in the sewers, and this is the lair, so it's even beneath the sewers. So this is really like the lowest part of the map, and this is like the sewer level, so it's mid, and then like the cemetery. And I kind of wanted to introduce this mushroom forest, so this is basically like just a little bit, it's just testing stuff out, but to get a visual idea. This is like a forest type, which I want the player to explore as well. So those are the 3 elements that I want for the demo. And this is all top side, and then you go, like, there are 3 levels. And there's gonna be like I kind of want maybe like here. I kind of want this Of course, it's gonna be like a different setting. But the idea is that I... Wait a minute. So underground entrance in the room. The fall ends. Cave, some rubble. You mean this one? Let's see. That's interesting. The only thing I wonder is how will that kind of tie into the sewers? Because basically this is like floor level. I'm gonna do another drop. Which will lead to the spider lair. And I was thinking something along the lines of that, which actually would make sense. So maybe I can actually use that, but save it for this, like this part right here. Here you're kind of like in this, like this is kind of like a cave, which is kind of, you know, I can make this cave into a sewer tunnel. I could. I see. For this part, you mean? Okay. Okay. That's probably an option. I can actually maybe create like a hub from here. Hold on, let me think. How do I do that? This is a safe point. Okay, so let's assume we make the cave. Okay, let's go with your idea. Actually a good question. It's magic, yes, but I kind of want to, because, you know, I kind of want it to make sense in a way, because it's like a Metroidvania style, so it would have to make somewhat sense. What I probably want to do is place this higher, but on the other side. And maybe place this like the mushroom forest here. Save like the fireplace. There's actually no need to put a fireplace here. Unless, well, this is not accessible from the start. Okay. Let's see. Damn it, Festus, you ruined my whole... No, wait. Yeah, you actually didn't. No. But you have a very good point. So I can basically just flip this. Flip, there we go. Oh, we'll probably have to move everything. Doesn't it work? Okay. Can you only move one at a side? Nah, it can be, right? It's weird. That's weird. Why can't I just select everything and move everything at once? Move. Ah, there we go. Everything except the background, of course. But you have to... Oh shit. Okay, so... You have to select everything individually. Apparently. Okay. Blackout, existing scene. No, it's actually not what we wanted. We need to move it higher, of course. Let's see. Where do we put it? Maybe here, like just below. That is viable. Now for the actual this is going to be like a separate part, so if this doesn't fit, it's not a big deal. But just want to, like, this can actually overlap somewhat. It's not like it doesn't really matter. Because you get just teleported to this part. It's a different scene, so it's never gonna overlap. Okay. So let's keep it on this height. Does that make sense? Or should I place it a little higher? Now it's like, it's not super important, but you're right about the fact that it, like, probably the player's not gonna notice because you have a change of, like, there's gonna be like a doorway or like, you know, some port, like an entrance. So you could assume like the player doesn't, suppose like the scene changes from these two parts, right? As a player, because the screen is gonna fade out and fade in again. So as a player, there's no like, you cannot say for sure if the player is like actually live traveling, or because like if I enter this door, right, you're gonna come up here. This is the exit point. And the screen is gonna fade out and fade in again, and then you're here. So there are some parts of traveling that you cannot see, or you know, you have to kind of make up in your own mind. So if this is slightly above, you know, you could just fill in the blanks yourself. It doesn't have to be connected, but this is just here, so I know. Like, I'm gonna build the map, these existing scenes are gonna, like, they're gonna be disappeared. But then I know, okay, here it stops. This is where the level actually stops, right? Because there's a scene attached to it. There's a transition, scene transition. That's enough for me. So basically, yeah. It's different when you have games where like the scene transition is super fast, or it kind of like shifts. So it's actual, the levels are actually tied together, but it's just for, you know, for memory or whatever, that they decided not to make one giant map. So I need to build like a travel mechanic, so you can travel through the fireplace. So this is gonna be like in this. I want to go put in the mushroom area somewhere. So you can travel from there to there. I'm not really sure how many fireplaces I'm gonna add. Maybe 2, max 3. Maybe one in the lower part as well. And that means we have room. Now the only thing I wonder is like, how do I, like for Mario, it was like they actually had a great traversal mechanic through the pipes. You could just bam, jump in and you get there was an easy transition between upper levels here. I either have to use this mechanic. You haven't seen it yet, Festus, I think. Let me show you real quick. Oh wait, maybe it's better if I show you the other one. Hold on. And I think it works. But I do want the player like to be able to put in some work as well. So basically, there we go. So you got this these types of platforms which will drive you to your destination. So that is a way for me to, like in Blackmarsh, in the world, you know, to traverse heights instead of just using steps or jumping. But I can actually maybe introduce, let's see. Certain stones, or like where you can like some parts sticking out. For example, how would I convey that? Like if you have, I'm gonna put it very simplistic here. Like this, and then I would probably put something underneath like this. It's very simplistic, but this kind of telegraphs to the player that you can jump from the bottom up. If I were to use this, then you would bounce your head. Like I use the black color to indicate well, sometimes, like most of the times where it makes sense. For this, for example, I would probably change this. So I gotta, like, it's clear that you can actually walk on top. And sometimes it's visually not that interesting to create like a black outline, for example, for the kettle. So there's kind of like an inconsistency issue. Here, for example, the same thing. Like you can jump on top of these parts, but they're pretty light. So normally that indicates it's part of the background instead of the actual scene. However, because the like I kind of wanted to create this effect where this room is kind of like pretty dark. There's a light of the moon coming through. So you cannot, of course, create a black outline here visually. So I have to make some compromises. But, you know, there's no action in here, so it's not like the player gets frustrated. Like, there's no death traps or whatever. So when it comes to those, it's going to be pretty clear what you can do or not. There is something I kind of want to check the height of as well. Okay, I'm gonna, just for the sake of just for the sake of so how about you drop down here? Is that an option? If I use this. Now the only thing I have to keep in mind is the limitation of the individual 8x8 blocks. If I use too much variation, we're gonna have issues. So I'm not really sure. This is going to be part of the blockout then. Oh, I wonder. So it's not an existing scene, because these are something you can always return to, even from other parts. So they have to be separate. Say this is the way to spider layer. And I'm not really sure how big the demo should be. What I want to do, mechanics I want to introduce are like potion brewing, very basic, like maybe only like maybe 2 spells, both attacks. A mechanic where you can actually use an attack to break blocks, both on ground and on a wall. The barrel push, explosive barrels, or barrels, another one to actually reach higher places. Traveling through fireplaces, and the boss fight mechanic. I think, you know, those are the main ones. So where I'm gonna put this one. Okay, so we got, this is actually, might be nice for like a cave that kind of slowly goes into a sewer. And I like the central part. And what was your suggestion again? Cave, some rubble, huge gargoyle head. Facing to the side, that's the entrance to the rooms. Okay, let me think. I can actually I'm gonna put a save point maybe somewhere in the mushroom forest and close to the boss. Let's see. Shit. And again, close off Hey Sprites. Jesus. Thank God I save often. Oh shit. Oh god, I lost my... well, I didn't save often enough, I guess. Flatten. Okay. Oh shit, I didn't save at all. What if I make this part right here? The entrance to the mushroom forest by means of a door. I'm not really sure yet. Okay. Let's put this into blackout. second to actually do a nice transition here. Make this darker and make this all black. Let's see. So we can basically use this. Like that. And we get a nice transition. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. No, actually, it's not part of the, that's part of the background. This one as well. Let's block out. Put this to the background. There we go. So we can fill this up and make a nice transition here as well. And then, yeah, we can always smooth this out like the same thing we did here. Kind of want to have some like variation, light, dark. I remember in Castlevania they have a very cool transition actually. If you hit certain torches, the light would go out. I think it was on Rock Castle. Very cool. It is possible. Now we're gonna have to build some blocks on here. You know, in the, like, it might not look all too great for the moment, but with the proper assets in place, once the Blackwood is completed, it will look a lot better. Because we're gonna make sure yeah, true. For me as well. Well, you know, it's kind of not all. Like, there are certain things, as you can see, they are completed, actually. Like, this is like a final form, as well as this. So these are the final forms of the level, or sections of the level. You have the animation, of course, here. Oh, this, yeah. I feel like it's still... Like it's hard to... If you just doing the blockouts... I feel like it's hard. But for me as well. Like I have some basic ideas of what I want. For here, I'm thinking like having some water run underneath. Now Ella she cannot swim, however, she can float in water. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna I had something which I did with this. This was actually initially like a parallax background, but it's quite demanding. Especially if you use it on larger levels. So this would have to be like a separate section, which it can be. Which probably it should be. But you know, you have to be consistent and use it everywhere, not just in one section. But since the original game is fairly limited and I'm kind of pushing the limits pretty hard, so might not be the best bet. Especially if I were to put some animated water in here as well. Removing. Let's see. Think. Can we? Instead of this, I can actually add some rocks here. Well, it's truly hard to like the shape. Of course, it has to be more natural. However, keeping collision in mind, which is, you know, like it's like this. It's square. So I have to introduce some elements, like the debris has to be like outside the playable area, like here, for example. Or I can make it like part of the background. Well, what you can do, actually, I have some, hold on, like this, for example. What part is that? Is that objects? No. Map. So, if I were to use this, let's just play around with it. So you can basically do like this, right? To make that, I have to make that transition. It's not gonna be easy for sure, for sure. And probably gonna be some, but I first have to test it. And then you can just make some minor adjustments. But I gotta make sure like every jump is doable, because if the player cannot jump over certain gaps, you know, or the player gets stuck somewhere, or the barrel gets stuck somewhere, and have to make changes, you know, that's a shitload harder if you've got everything textured. You know, would have to move your whole scene, and you know, some textures might not align properly anymore. So it's kind of, I kind of want to have that set in stone. Especially, I never did it. I didn't do it for the other parts. But those are really like fairly small, where there's not like a lot of other mechanics going on. So that's like the chances the player gets stuck there or doesn't make a jump, it's fairly small. I kind of tested it before as well. But for these larger maps, especially if you have work with multiple levels, entry points, exit point, you know, then it becomes a little harder. And for the fireplace mechanic, you can travel to any other fireplace. However, you have to discover them first. Otherwise, you know, you could just jump immediately to the forest, or the mushroom forest, yeah. This is just basically like, if you are in the forest and you want to brew more potions, you can go to the fireplace, jump here to your brewing kettle, make your potions, and then head back. So there are going to be like multiple fireplaces in the same level. And I especially want to do that when it comes to the boss levels. Like this is after this point. This is where the level becomes dangerous. Like dangerous. Like you will know that there's something big ahead. You know, so, like a boss, for example. So we're probably going to work with a transportation device going up and down. Now the only, like, I think one of the hardest parts here is the pacing. Like this is, I would probably have to speed up Ella's like walking speed, make it a little higher because this will take a while. Walking from here to here. This will take a while, so or we could actually add a door here. And that's an easy way up as well. Maybe we should do that instead. So I can actually leave some room for some creatures, because that floating platform mechanic takes up some memory as well. Now we have different mechanics, because I only have one door, but I should probably like that's actually the easiest way of transportation. Just the door. Well, the door looks fairly flat. We could actually if I use block out and objects. Can you? No, you cannot. Okay. So we can actually like that. Just have a little bit of variety in the map, and I just make it flat completely. The only thing is, where am I going to put my... Am I gonna put my... Don't want to make it too frustrating. You can never actually fall through, so that's not an option. Can we fall through here? Yeah, I think so. Can actually fall through, yeah. So I have to keep, and that's what I said, like this is actually pretty difficult. You can actually, if you time it right, you can go here, maybe find an ingredient. It's just something, you know, I kind of want to keep the player busy instead of just walking. You have to design your rooms like there's always something to do. This is actually, this is good for a monster. The one that kind of shoots these balls, like well, I can always add it in. This can be like, still trying to figure out, like this can be like a rocky area, this whole part right here, or at least have that visual style. And then here is the entrance, maybe like indeed with a statue or something. It kind of indicates that we're going into a different part of the sewer, like a darker part. Maybe find like maybe like a locked door. You have to find a key in the mushroom forest. Then you open it. Yeah, that's an option. Hold on. Gonna have to move this though. I need to dig in one of the existing. Hold on, I did create like a working file. This is actually what I need. So here are main assets I created so far, and this is actually, these are kind of like the locked doors. So we can actually place this. So I immediately can see the connection. Now we can actually the only thing is that messes with my unique tiles. The reason I'm doing this is because I want the player to actually see on screen where this will lead to. Always has to be a way to get back, of course. And I can place a barrel right here. And then you have to push it and use it to jump. I'm probably so you have to enter the barrel from here, and you know, push. You can only push to this side, which you know, and I can actually save the barrel's location, because if you mess up here, okay. That is the problem with these barrel pushing mechanics. If you push it in the corner here, I have to make sure that there's enough room so you can actually push the barrel back. But I'm not really sure if this works. So it would probably, to avoid, like, if it works, it's fine, I'm gonna use it, but if it doesn't work, I'm gonna have to avoid the player, you know, pushing the barrel beyond a certain point. We'll see. The only mechanic I cannot seem to get working is dropping down from a platform. Not really sure what causes it. But if that were the case, I could basically have a section here dropping down and leading you to the mushroom forest. And there's a lot of things to keep in mind. Like, how do I get back up here? There's no door allowing it, actually. If I were to make an entrance here to the mushroom forest, I would have to be able to get back upstairs. lot of doors here. You know what I could do? What I could do. Good idea. Here's the entrance to the mushroom forest. And then we get a scene transition, we go from left to right. This is tougher than making levels for Doom, I can tell you that. we have I'm gonna work with transitions. However, like there are probably for the actual game I have to do some serious study on good map layouts. No, this is actually my way out of the sewer. Let's make sure like it's obvious. I can actually remove this door. This is actually very nice for to demonstrate the bouncing ball effect. They place a monster here, bounces all the way down. So you have a challenge getting up there. Actually, let's see. You have to find a way to defeat it as well, of course. Yeah, let's not make it too challenging at first. Go. Not bad, I'd say. Alright, I'm gonna leave it at that for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be returning this week with some Doom 2 Annie as well. So consider this an extra stream, and we're gonna probably, I'm still thinking about streaming 4 hours at once, or maybe like do 2 separate hours of separate sessions of streaming of 2 hours. We'll see. Kind of have to look at the time as well. Well, we'll see. I have some serious catching up to do, so this is gonna be plenty of streaming this week. Fellas, have a great evening. Take care and